probably confidential stuff. I don't know if the episode's going on right now. If you can hear me, it'll be a really funny start. For my company, we had an all hands today, which is just like all hands.
What's an all hands?
All hands on deck, mateys.
Oh, that sounds.
I'm part
important.
of a pirate crew. No, it's just like state of the company, etc. And
Did you mess up?
No, I don't do that. I'm sitting there. I'm one of the plebs that can only chat and raise hands in the Zoom meeting. What are you doing? I'm always loud and proud. But no, we had the all hands meeting after Ryan's adjusted this. I'll turn my phone quiet. And
You sound much better.
thanks, I appreciate it. Always sound good, but and we always have a Q&A, and I don't want to like out anybody or like take a perspective
Q&A
on
like
things.
our next podcast is gonna be.
Hopefully, if you do stuff, we'll talk about that in the end.
Yeah.
But storytelling, one of the questions was, it seems to have been a heavy push to have current employees become vaccinated in order to return to the office. Oh. Is this going to be pushed? And like, what about the people who decide not to get vaccinated? Should they be worried about their position? And it's like, and it was worded more so in the way of like, this person does not believe in vaccines or specifically this one they don't want to.
It's like a lower level faculty staff member was like trying to ask this question.
Yeah. So it's always anonymous. And like, I don't have a particular standpoint either way. I want to get vaccinated. I haven't done it yet, but like the speaker, man, they kept it straight and cool the whole time, but there was like an underlying sense of anti-vaxxer feels to it.
Coming from them?
Yeah.
Oh,
they were like, ugh. But what I want to say is it was rather than them being upset at the person for not doing the COVID vaccine, it seemed like it was just worded like they were against vaccines in general.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of like, woo, baby.
Yeah, I would not even say that's a controversial topic, because the guy that said that vaccines, general vaccines like the flu vaccine and whatnot, polio, whatever, cause autism and cause problems for people, got his license revoked. So I'm not entirely sure we should be trusting that guy of all people.
But the current vaccine is a bit more of a controversial topic. But we are not a medical podcast
or a political podcast, Which is, first of all, it's weird that became a political thing, but hey.
Yeah, or we might get a little political today.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're going outside of our comfort zone again.
Political in the way of like, if you're a D&D guy, you should only ever play D&D.
And well, I don't know. I guess you made the point. I don't know. So do I do this yet? No. Okay. I don't know. Do you have a hard week?
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy week. I know you've been busy. I've been busy. I had a lot of essays to write. I'm currently in my graduate program, and that's you know how it is with school. For whatever reason, all the professors put things off to the very last. I guess students do too, but they've assigned the hardest assignments at the very end, and it's different because I'm in a 10-week course right now, and so it's in other courses you at least have a month in advance. Okay, let's get it worked on. I got time. Here, it's like you have a week to finish this gigantic assignment.
Now, like, do you genuinely think it's them procrastinating, or was this planned the whole time?
I think so. There is still another week. This is 8 out of 10 weeks. And my girlfriend mentioned that they probably are doing this so they have time to grade it.
That
They're
makes
giving
sense.
it to us now, so they have at least an extra week to grade it.
Okay.
Makes sense. But still, it's tough. I'm the one that took the class, I guess. This is not as hard as when I took an undergraduate sign language course, 2 sign language courses over the summer. We learned 1,800 signs in 10 weeks, something like that. It was insane. Yeah, it was 5 weeks per class. It was ridiculous.
I feel like kanji might be a little more difficult, maybe, but you probably could have done that. If you did 1,800 signs, and that, like, I didn't learn 1,800. I should have.
It was.
I was supposed to.
I think to me, honestly, it worked out because I was engulfed in the language, and if you do not learn, you fail. So I had to learn.
Yeah. Well, I tend to slack off, so I probably would have drowned in that case.
Well, you can leave the course, and it's all right.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, how was your week, man?
Yeah, so today was interesting, mostly just because like work was heavy. I had to go drop off a laptop like 15 minutes away, which isn't very far, but see one of my parents' friends' houses. Okay, I'll keep it short. We'll get to the D&D stuff in a second, or rather Pathfinder stuff.
Whoa, spoilers.
But I have a secret.
Well, not to mention the Blizzard stuff happened this week.
Oh my
too.
God, dude. And
we made fun of Blizzard on the podcast before because I used to love Blizzard growing up. Then obviously I turned out that I hate it. Dead
now.
And now, oof.
There was a Zoom thing released, one of their conversations. Really? Yeah. It said that they are going to continue to deny the allegations.
Well, it's one of those things where I understand from a legal standpoint, as a company, they have to, or else they're admitting to the fault and they have, then the lawsuit's over immediately.
Yes.
So I could see if the lawsuit ends in some manner, then they might be more honest about it. But from a legal standpoint, the lawyer's probably saying, no matter what you say, you cannot admit that you knew this was going on.
Yeah.
And then I guess you get into morals. Should they listen to that? Should they? I mean, they probably should just be like, yeah, I knew this was happening behind my back. I knew that the lead of Warcraft was.
It's a bit
drinking.
Of a, oh my god.
Yeah, he did some terrible
there's
stuff.
There's some rough
A
details.
lot of them did terrible stuff.
Yeah. Well, they've got secrets. I have a secret.
Oh, okay, yeah. What's your secret?
I cut my own hair.
Wait, really?
Yeah, dude. Just like nice and short.
Okay. It's pretty good. Not bad.
Short. Feels
not
weird.
bad. So,
a little bit of hat
so
hair.
You asked us in the Discord, and were you thinking about going to go somewhere? You're like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself.
Well, what happened is I went somewhere and they didn't cut it short enough, and it was kind of like weird to deal with. Let me pull the camera up because I can't.
You just did a little bit.
Well, I did a ton. Like my hair was like this long. If you pulled it all the way out, it was like down to here, and this is like an inch or two.
So they cut a little bit, and then you added on top of that.
I cut a ton.
Damn.
I basically did an entire haircut for myself.
Damn.
I don't know if it looks good. I got hat hair, Ryan. But yeah, that was my secret.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I don't think I wouldn't have known if you hadn't told me. I think that in and of itself is probably a compliment.
It was a stressful time. I had she's great. She had a stressful moment. I had my Britney Spears. I almost shaved like my entire hair.
I'm surprised.
Almost did the whole thing.
I'm surprised you did it now. Most people, when they cut their hair, it was because they couldn't leave for COVID stuff. And I was close. I was actually, I'm either gonna become a caveman and not cut my hair at all, or I'm gonna have to do it myself.
There we go. Here's the other side. There you go.
Looks pretty good, man. I'm impressed.
I need those notes actually. Wearing hats is a lot more comfortable now, and I was just like, I'm tired of doing my hair,
especially in summer, man.
And I'm also just losing my hair
hot.
too. So I just, oh yeah.
You're too young for that, man.
No, I'm not. I have a Jewish blood in me, and my whole family has.
I was about to say, your dad's bald, right?
Yeah.
My grandfather went bald at the age of 17.
It's going. So all you out there, just like live with it. You are not your hair. That's the correct phrase.
It's part of you though.
But you know what you are?
Your character in Pathfinder.
Pathfinder. Nice, Jinx. You owe me a soda. So, we are about to play.
Yeah, so first of all, we did an episode on Pathfinder. Yeah. Kind of just checking it out because we've been wanting to for a while, right? And through that episode, we realized this is a system we kind of really like. It's got some cool aspects to it. It's a little cumbersome to understand getting into it, but I mean, I'd say D&D was at first too. This is definitely that times 2 at the very least. And we have a lovely person in Discord who saw that podcast episode and was like, you know what? I'm going to hop into Discord, and we have talked in a little bit, and they are going to run us a game soon.
Yeah, shout out to them. They'll be doing a beginner's box for us, and if we like it, possibly the follow-up to it, which it actually exists, like not something they've written. So we'd be able to go to like level 4, I believe.
It's similar to the Minds of Phandelver.
The fact that we'd be able to wrangle all of us together again to do it is probably very slim, but in their specific case, I was chatting with them at like 5 a.m. because both of our sleep schedules were fucked. And I was creating my character, and they mentioned that they have never finished this module. And they're like, don't let this deter you. But I've never finished this before. I was like, wait, what's like the reason? To be
fair, though, I've ran Minds of Phandelver twice, never finished that either.
Yeah. Well, their specific thing.
Boring.
Well, yeah, that's true. I don't think they say it's gonna be boring, but they have a near encyclopedic knowledge of Pathfinder, so we're in good hands. And that'll lead into some of my points later on, because character creation is a lot to keep track of.
Yes.
In this, there's a lot more than in D&D, I would say. And I'm sure Ryan took his own notes, but I told him he could chill this week because I didn't realize it's not even behind us. You can see if you look behind me right now. Lost Mind of Phandelver. I did make a character. Obviously we have to do this. Almost
thing,
made 2.
But I almost made 2. I'm playing with the ideas. My thing, I'm gonna say my thoughts going into this. I wanted to play a race that's not in D&D.
Sorry, wrong term.
Sorry, ancestry.
There you go.
Heritage.
Yeah, ancestry and heritage.
Right. I wanted to play an ancestry that was not in D&D, and I wanted to play a class that was not in D&D.
I think that's a good thing to do because there's a couple of unique stuff, and
granted, the basic wizard and fighter are very different than the D&D one, but
very, very different.
Still, I wanted something completely fresh.
Yeah. So I honestly, going into this, was really nervous. Just going from a new system, it's like,
That's fair.
you've been wearing the same pair of shoes for like 20 years or, in our case, like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And you get a new pair of shoes and it's like slightly bigger and there's like toe holes and it's a little more complicated and like there's like 2 sets of laces and you're like, this is intimidating.
And there's no, like when you go to this is the analogy episode, like when you go to a bowling arena or what's they called, bowling lane,
alley.
bowling alley, bowling arena. That's next level stuff.
We don't get out.
If you're bad at it, you can raise the gutters, right? And I'd say going along those lines, I don't say using D&D Beyond is if you're bad at it, but it's definitely a lot easier to
It's
make
definitely a gutter.
because it walks you through it. It
Yeah.
says make this, do this, click these buttons. There's no equivalent. Granted, there is a character builder.
It's pretty good.
Like Pathfinder 2e builder. I don't know what it's called. We can put a link in the description.
I don't have it right here.
I'll put a link in the description. Pathfinder 2e builder, something like that. And it's similar where it has the material, has everything up there, but doesn't say explicitly like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
And there's some automation, but what I enjoyed about that some of you might do is you can really plot your whole character ahead without actually leveling up. D&D Beyond, if you level up, it like pushes it through.
True.
And you can have a copy of your character and level it up there and plan it, but literally you can pick everything that you're going to have for your level ups, and when you hit that button, boop, it just happens. So it plans it for you. And it's important for Pathfinder because you have to learn spells, and it's a bit more involved.
I made my character, like shows the class, background, ancestry, everything I wanted, just typed that all up on that, and then I went to the book and figured out, like, it says, it comes up with like this notification to choose your skills here and choose, your proficiencies, whatever, here, what you're trained in. And I figured out, I kind of worked backwards, figured out where they came from, why they're like this. So I can try to wrap my head around why it's all working this way. So I used the book a little bit as well.
So overall experience, without getting into it, because we'll do that next.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Yes or no?
Yeah, very much so. I even invited, I was looking through the ancestries, like, hey, I yelled my girlfriend's name. Hey, Julie, come over here.
Get in here.
Yeah, I was like, help me decide how to make this character.
Honey, help me with my character creation, please.
And it was fun. It was fun walking through it and kind of bouncing off ideas. I think there's more room for growth and more. We kind of mentioned this in the episode, but more ability to feel like you're making important decisions.
Yes.
It's not just a subclass you pop on. It allows you to mold and meld and really build something of your own.
Mm-hmm. For me, I also enjoyed it for pretty much the exact same reasons, in addition to some, which I'm sure you got extra stuff as well. I did not have my fair share of moments where I got lost, and I think it's just because it wasn't D&D Beyond. Like, that is a crutch.
Yes. Yeah, I had a few moments with armor stuff, like keywords and stuff. I didn't understand the keyword.
You needed armor.
No, I didn't. I was curious on it. And then I went to the keyword section, and encumbrance. I learned about the bulk and encumbrance stuff. To me, like, so for D&D, when I was making my first character, the hardest parts was figuring out the ability scores and rolling for all that stuff. This, to me, the hardest part was figuring out the after stuff, because obviously the base, the default ruling is you start with 10. That's your stat level. And then you add on other stuff on top of that. So the hardest part for me here was figuring out what does which, where the feats are, what there's feats literally for everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
the
of
good thing is, though, those are
book.
the options.
Yeah.
That's not the core part of the game. So if you've gotten that far and you're okay, you'll be good, because everybody's got to learn the spells and shit.
I did not make a spellcaster, so I haven't even looked at that stuff.
That was an experience, let me tell you. So many descriptions.
The person that was running the game mentioned that maybe I could be a druid, and I just from druid PTSD from D&D, and that's one of the most hard, like, tough classes to wrap your brain around. I immediately was like, no, I don't want to.
No thanks.
I don't want to touch that. It might be different in Pathfinder, but I just
it very well could.
I didn't even look at it.
Yeah. Man, what was my next point? I don't know. Let's dive into the thing I want to start with. So I wanted to bring up some preconceptions that I had before going into it. I want to see if you, like, let's erase your brain.
Okay.
Pretend you haven't done it yet, and see if, like, before you went in, you had this like perception as well. So
Easy.
There's a hell of a lot more number crunching. Had you heard that?
Yes. Yeah. It's coming from the 3.5. So this is like, if Pathfinder 1E was 3.5E.2, this is, I dare I say, it's not really like a 0.3 because people said it's changed a lot. But it's like a twisted version of that, and that 3.5 has a lot more numbers than say a 5th edition does.
Well, even from one for Pathfinder First Edition, really was crunchy. It had a lot of stuff that was overly complicated, and
a lot more math.
A lot more, and the fact leads into the next point is that it's a lot more confusing compared to D&D 5th Edition, and too difficult to create a character.
I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was one of our concerns. Especially with the episode we did before, where we were like, sure, we can read this, but how easy it is to actually play in a game.
Yeah, there was a couple of Reddit posts that I jumped into. I'm trying to find one now, but there's always those long ranty posts where somebody goes, they've got 0 upvotes, and it's like in the Reddit for Pathfinders, like, I just hate this. It's terrible. Like, you're not gonna
find any people that
get some stuff.
agree.
I decided I wanted to read it. Here it is. Okay, so everything from character creation to the simplest of interactions is made unnecessarily complex. This was user Dutch Oven Me.
Nice.
On Pathfinder 2E.
See, I can...
don't get into it yet.
No, I don't agree with that.
Don't get into it yet. But correct. Like, I am of the same opinion that you...
I can see where they're coming from.
Yes. And that's a big point of a lot of where I got lost for a little bit. But it's in all tabletop RPGs. Yeah, there we go. That's the words. Yes. And that classes are more one-notey / there's a clear best like format or build, and everything else is just way less optimal to a simpler degree than D&D, even though there's more options.
Are you saying that's
there's an obvious best feat in each level?
I could see that. Yeah. So I'm under the player base of RPGs and stuff that makes a character, then chooses. With the character I made, I chose things that probably are not best for the beginner box, but I chose things I was like, hey, this would be a cute little thing for this guy to have. Why not? While there are a lot of people and this definitely system, I would say, leads to that of like really min-maxing, choosing the best feats to make your character, the perfect specimen that they can be.
So you made a really, really good point. And we're jumping into the things that I've experienced now, and Ryan can share his as well.
Sure.
But the first thing to mention now is, I think not even just a session 0, but like a session 1-on-1 with your DM saying, if I take this, you'd like, try not to spoil me. JD, don't do it. Keep your mouth shut.
Is it useful? Yeah.
But is it going to be used at all in the campaign? Now, your DM might say, don't worry about it. If you take it, I will look over all of your character sheets and find a way to use it. At some point, it will be guaranteed.
As a good DM should do that no matter what.
Yeah, there's definitely 2 approaches. You could do that, or you could do the other one where it says, no, that's not going to be in this beginner box. And I had that moment with the person that's going to be running it for us. I said, if I take this ability that allows my character to, if I'm within 10 feet, it's basically like true sight. I can tell if they're shapeshifted. Nice. Is that going to be used on? He's like, you might want to take something else. But if we continue...
No, I had that exact same thought as well, because there are a few feats and a few things that are specific to traps or specific to like the desert and stuff. It's like, this could be cool for this character to have, like RP wise, but would I ever use this? And also think about some of the backgrounds where it gives you like certain feats according to what background you choose. Some of those feats are cool, but I could see in a long form campaigns, maybe them coming up more often. Like, I can't remember which one it was. There was one that specifically said, work with your GM, I should say, and they'll help you. Oh, it's the advanced backgrounds where it talks about the amnesiac, where you've forgotten your memory. You have amnesia.
I don't want to write a backstory, so.
Kinda, yeah, but it says you work with your GM to how to create, you still kind of create a background, and they help you kind of build it into the story, and you slowly learn more about your character, and that's really cool. But otherwise, this background's fairly useless. Yeah. If I just pick it up just for fun.
Yes, that's what I wanted to start off with saying is that this, more so than anything, I can see halfway through a campaign, player comes to the GM and says, look, I'm not having fun as my character. None of my abilities are relevant. Can I change?
This, and this, yeah.
So I think knowing the campaign setting or having a session 0 where your GM is very prepared and will tell you themes and things that you might need and stuff that we might encounter so that you're informed.
I mean, might lead to why there are so many adventure paths.
Yeah.
It allows you to say, this is exactly what's going to be in this adventure. take it or leave it.
Yeah. And from that, I want to jump into something that you probably absolutely adored, is how much there was to read.
Yeah, I was just thinking this when I was talking about that last amnesiac feat. I had a blast just looking through everything.
It fills your background out for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool ideas. I was like, I don't know if I would take this, but a cool like RP thing to think about for my character. I think it fits well thematically, but it's not a good like mechanical feat.
Yeah.
So I thought about how I could mix it in regardless. Yeah, there's some really cool things in here that are it's written so well and flavored so well that I don't know, it's just enjoyable to look through.
You take the same stuff that you saw in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft for 5th edition D&D, where it's a lot of exposition that is only relevant for the DM or GM, or DM in D&D's case. But flip that on its head and put it in Pathfinder for players, and there's a bunch of stuff here. And I was making a character, and usually, you know, you're playing in Breton and Skyrim, and they've got that whole description of like where they come from, Cyrodiil, blah 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 blah, and it's like I don't give a poop, just let me play the game. But I was making my Oracle Kitsune, and yes, I was playing a class that is basically a furry.
Oh, seems like
I went to the advanced player guide. Yeah, no, not Catfolk, Kitsune, Fox. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even know that was in there.
Yeah,
wow.
It's in the no, it's in the what's it called? Is this it? There's an additional supplement for races. It's where the tieflings are.
Yeah. Okay. So since you mentioned this, I'm gonna tell you what I am too. I'm just the rat folk guy.
Hell yeah.
He's so cute, man.
Hell yeah. They're fun.
So we got 2 animals running around.
Yeah, it's really cool. Mine can like hide as a different being, have an alternate form, and some of the Kitsune. What's the second, like your subclass for your race? What is it again? Your ancestry?
Oh, heritage.
Heritage. So the heritage just gives you like your alternate form from just your fox.
Oh my god!
Anthropomorphic is to a regular fox versus from your fox humanoid form to a fully humanoid form called your tailless form. It's really interesting.
So I loved how many choices there were. So you choose your ancestry, your
subclass for your ancestry.
Yeah, then you choose your subclass, which in D&D would be like, I'm choosing dwarf. I'll be hill dwarf, and it literally changes like one stat thing, nothing else. Then you choose your class. Oh, sorry. First, you choose a feat for your ancestry as well. Your heritage, actually, I should say.
Your race, your ancestry levels up, basically.
And then you go to your class, and you pick your class, and you pick your methodology. I don't know if that's how it works for everyone. I think all of them have. I don't know what's called.
Yours is methodology. Mine is mysteries.
Okay, basically your subclass, and then you pick your feat for that class. I forgot background. So you're also picking your background. Each one of these has meaningful additions. It's not just a stat change. I actually don't know if many of them were stat change. They would give you a boost.
Yeah, some of them have options where you can, like the Kitsune would have a thing that alters what damage type.
Feat. They'd all give you important, fun things.
Yeah.
And instead, if you already have this feat from something else, then you get to choose any skill that you can pick. Which
here's the kind of like detailed stuff, and don't let it deter you, because if you either go for the online resource that levels you through it, it makes it clear cut, or if you go to the resource of, I think it's 2.e AO and PRE.
Yeah, the Aether, which from some very kind people pointed out on our YouTube video.
I guess
our podcast.
But yeah, it's super useful. It's basically
not even to say. I mean, the character creation steps that are in the core rulebook, very handy as well.
But like, look, you've got, for the people that aren't watching on YouTube, I'm doing like a tiered thing, like a drop down list. So you've got Kitsune, and then your Kitsune feats, and then close the feats, reopen, go below Kitsune. You've got another one for your heritage, and the heritages all have different feats within them, and there's like 3 or 4 of them. They have different gods that they worship.
I didn't think about looking at that Aetherus thing. That's my fault. I should have looked at that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It helped me a lot trying to figure it out. And the thing that I really enjoyed, and that I was mostly talking about with the reading, is we're in Galarian.
Yes.
Most of these are in Galarian versus D&D, where there's so many different supplements. They usually don't bother with saying a few other quips about the races.
Yeah, they usually say that this is, in Forgotten Realms, they're like this. In Dragonlance, they're like this.
In this, it says, you're from this location, worship these gods, do these things. And then it says, like, you may, or maybe you're different. But I really enjoyed these, like, several paragraphs on this background that my character will have. And it's like not just a mention of it, so I'd have to go do research on my own. It's when I'm writing my backstory, I know where I'm from. I know the town I'm from. I can research that, find people there, and like speak as if I know without having to say, hey, DM, what was my hometown like in game, So I really enjoyed that. It's a lot more work to do. So that was my first point. So there's a lot more to read, and it's easy to lose interest if you aren't the type to enjoy background or exposition. So you can definitely get overwhelmed when you're reading stuff. So start off, if you're not the type of person that enjoys that, just look at titles and then jump to the 2 or 3 bulleted lists where they have people see you as this. You might do this.
Like
you
those.
might be like, that's the best way to get your little equipment. If you get really interested, dive into it. The excitement for the 3 action rule is still there for me, and I can't wait to get into it.
I'm excited to mess around with it for sure. I think the hardest part for me will be condensing all the actions that I can do on a turn, and figuring out, okay, what's the best thing? For example, I chose the investigator class as my first one to mess around with, and they're not big buff dudes, but they have a specific action that allows them to assess an individual and say, okay, you look like you're weak around this corner, around this part of your armor or something, and that's one action. Then as a second action, if I attack, and I roll a d20, whatever, and I do stuff, then as a second attack, I have to read this again because I didn't really fully understand it. As a second action, sorry, not a second attack, I can then try to strike them and then I can use the strike, the roll I did before or something on that, but use my intelligence modifier instead of like my strength and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, it's not as simple as, D&D just walk in and I as a barbarian, I hit this, I strike that.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in depth to combat for sure.
There's a lot, and spells kind of made it even crazier too, and even more than just combat. Think about D&D and how combat is, and there's rolling and instances and turns, etc. Pathfinder almost has that through the entire thing.
Yeah.
The whole experience. And back to that player's mentioning of overcomplicating shit. I'm going to jump down to this portion where I have shit like this. So I'm going to read you a feat that you can get when you get to level 2. Okay. Some of these are based off of what kind of background you've chosen. Like for me, I think I had some sort of emissary thing or something like that, where I'm somebody who's skilled in like the social aspect and speaking with people, some sort of dog outside. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
So it gives me access to this. It opens up a bunch of other feats. Think about D&D. You have one background, and it's like you can carouse around the city, and then you know how to get around anywhere for a while. And that's like a feat, but those often get forgotten. These are built in, and you get them as you level up, so it's really cool. Yeah. But this one, it requires you to be trained in diplomacy, which happens based off of your stats and what you've picked your proficiencies in.
I did like that there are some prerequisites.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. So on a crit success, in response to you launching an insightful quip at a foe to distract them, you pick this foe, they're 30 feet away, and roll a diplomacy check against their will. So you say something like really interesting to them.
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, what is this happening during combat? No, this is like you're RPing right now, and you are going to say something to try to distract them so your rogue can steal their wallet or something. On a crit success, the target is distracted and takes -3 to their status to perception and will saves for 1 minute. They can continue to try to save against it over and over, but it takes 1 action. So right here, you're just chatting with an NPC. You do an action, so you have to stop and say, I'm going to do this. The DM has to stop, do this, make them have a save. Keep this in mind that their save is going to be like this. Jot it down their head, and then if conversation goes back fluidly, or you guys keep it in a turn-based thing, it turns it much more transactional. Crit success, it's just -2, and crit fail, your quip is atrocious. You get that disadvantage, and it's like
that's funny.
My big note on all of these, and I took down a ton of these. Courtly graces, you were raised among nobility. I've learned proper glean contents.
Yeah.
Let's go with that one.
Well, I want to say in response to that real fast before you move on. Yeah, I know. On the stack, real quick, let me see if I can remind myself. So in D&D, if you were to do something like that, for example, if I'm the DM, I know I would.
It's off the cuff.
Yeah, I would say, roll a deception check or something like that.
You can't do that.
Performance check or something along those lines. So it's much more free form. And then if you roll well, then I'll say, the guy's distracted, And if you roll poorly, then obviously he's not distracted. Well, this is very much kind of it has a mechanical
It takes the guesswork
structure
out of it.
Yeah, it has
and it
says
for it. Where I've been in D&D and said, you can just do whatever you want. This says, no, there's a rule for that.
Yeah, because the problem, not problem, but the difference with this is how this being a specific feat that someone can get means that
you cannot do it without it.
Can't just do it without it. Yeah. So a player that wants to distract somebody would have to do it in a different manner.
Well, there is a diplomacy check. You just won't have the benefit to it, and you can't do it in this exact manner. Let me try to find. No cause for alarm. Whereas in D&D,
3 actions,
3 full actions. Whereas in D&D, somebody in your party might run out and try to like do this big speech and stop it. It's like, okay, roll a charisma check. This is a 3 action thing. So it's like, is this social encounter turn-based always?
No, I think you could in theory do this in combat if you so wished.
Okay, that makes more sense. But in this case, it's you attempt to reduce panic. So I guess you couldn't really successfully do this as well without it. Attempt a diplomacy check comparing it to the will DC of other creatures in a 10-foot emanation, which is not that far. So people who aren't even actually this sucks. What the hell? It just reduces their frightened level. Creatures have a frightened value, a value of friendliness towards you.
This makes me think as well that, for example, you couldn't then do, like for my attack, I use 1 action to assess, 1 action to attack. While this, if you were to do anything else, you can't, like, it's not in turn-based, but you can't, like, add something else onto that 3 action ability.
It is interesting, though. This is a negate fear effect. Maybe your I don't know if party members have frightened values.
I'd imagine
it might
so.
just be NPCs. I don't know. We'll see. But there's a lot of these things
There's still a lot we don't know, obviously. Like, I was reading through stuff, and it's like, this gives you a -1 roll to this, gives you +1 roll to this. And I was like, I don't even know what those rolls mean yet. Mm-hmm. So I need to then go back and, or they help me.
Knows.
Or I can just go back in and read those.
So to sum it up for this section here, if there's something that you would have done in D&D, a unique encounter that maybe your DM would have given you inspiration for, or have had you do a roll to see the success of it, or just hand waved it and let it happen, flip it on its head in Pathfinder, there is an ability that will let you do that more effectively.
And I like you said, more effectively, because I imagine you can still do some of these things. It's just going to not be as impactful. I think as a DM or GM, you should know. I hate to say you have to know all these feats on the back of your hand, but you have to make sure that when you're giving it to someone who doesn't have the feat, that it's not as impactful as if you did have the feat. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but counterspell on this, you have to know the spell, right? I think so, yeah. There is a feat you have to take to be able to do that. Damn. The recognized spell feat. I feel like some background stuff probably give it to you. Probably, very much so. A creature within line of sight casts a spell that you don't have prepared, or it's in your spell repertoire, and then you roll to see how well you recognize it, depending on what area that you study in. I do want to say... it does nerf counterspell. Yes, but I do have a couple issues with the feat stuff. Well, maybe I guess I should say background stuff. This is basically Eldritch Invocations for everybody. Yes. Well, when I was reading through the book, there were some areas where it would say it gives you the recognized spell feat, and it wouldn't tell you what page it's on. And then I had to go try to find where this. I assumed it's in here. So it's all the ones in the core rulebook would not tell you the page number, but all the ones in the advanced player's handbook would then tell you where the page number is. So I guess they realized their error and added and did it for the next edition. But let's jump to that. The key thing that WotC is trying to prevent, Pathfinder says we don't give a fuck, and it just happens. So WotC trying to make it super, super easy to get into. When you're playing in 5th edition, sure, they have marketing stuff in books that makes you want to go read it, and you realize there's a paywall. Like, sure, that's there. But in 5th edition, generally, you can be pretty satisfied with the player's handbook and the options you've got there and not feel like you're missing something, as long as you don't have the pre-existing knowledge that that stuff's already out there. So let's go to the Kitsune, which is an additional ancestry, additional race for you to play as. The advanced player's handbook. And one of their first level feats introduces so many things that you need to learn right away that I would very much so recommend when you try to create a class, you need some extra time to look at stuff just in case this happens, because this is going to stall you for like 20 to 30 minutes. You're going to have to look stuff up. So let's run through it and see how Ryan feels about this as well. So the Star Orb. The Oracle themselves is bound to some sort of mystery that they want to study, some sort of deity. The one in my case is bound to the mystery of the cosmos, so they aren't really bound to anything. Whoa. Think of like Bloodborne and shit like that. Sure. So a feat I can get is a Star Orb. It is a familiar of mine that I can have, but it is a tiny stone of light bulk, so it's light and it's teeny, teeny, tiny. And most familiars can be an animal that can move, some sort of thing like that. But this specifically says
and I'll read it verbatim because it's very poorly worded. The familiar has no capital speeds and must select a speed familiar ability before it can move. Now we'll stop there. This is an additional supplement. And maybe, is it Paizo?
Yeah, Paizo.
Maybe Paizo made the assumption that you've probably read the core rulebook and you have known what familiars do, ideally. So they get a slight pass for that, but in this case, it's like, what is a speed? What is a familiar speed ability? I'm like, well, okay, where the hell do I go? And then at the end of it, it says it just can't move at all. So you have to give it the chosen speed by selecting an ability, and you have to select 2 abilities for it every single day. And I'm like, okay, where are these abilities? It takes me to Advanced Player's Guide 147.
Yeah, 147.
Which is not the main rules for familiars. It is additional supplements for familiars. So this does not have go to the core rulebook page, whatever, for familiars. So I went to this, saw the extra shit. I'm like, how do familiars work? How do I pick these abilities? So I had to jump back over to the core rulebook, and the familiar shit is so goddamn This is all about familiars.
I did see that, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, it's not that bad. You read it, Braxton, shut up. You have to go through books all the time and tabletop stuff. It's really not that big of a deal. But the wording of this ability is so convoluted that there are massive debates on this thing as to whether or not it can move at all, what you can do with it, because you select 2 abilities, one familiar ability and one master ability.
Okay, never mind.
So some familiar abilities give it speed. Some master abilities, for example, can turn it into you.
So if you don't pick one that has speed, then it can't move.
So if it turns into you, it cannot speak unless you pick one of your 2 abilities turning into you. It cannot speak unless you pick the ability for it to be able to speak and listen. It can't walk. It is you, but can only speak and can't walk.
It's kind of cute.
So it is kind of cute. So if you get rid of the speaking, it can be you, but walk. But it always has an additional thing, which basically is a rod of the Pact Keeper. It refreshes one of your occult spells, your spell slots. So that's pretty cool. It always has that. Now the contingency in it, and the reason I'm getting so ad nauseum with it is just to give you the perspective. It doesn't really matter right now for you specifically. But it was a debate as to whether or not this uses one of your 2 selected abilities per day. Okay. And the official ruling is that it does not. So you get a free 3rd ability that it always is selected as this. But you have to go Googling so much to figure it out. Now, your DM could hand wave it and make the decision then and there, and that could simplify it a lot. But it was such an obtuse experience for me and the person who has a near encyclopedic knowledge of Pathfinder to figure this out and rule it. They were like, yeah, I don't really understand Star Orbit's kind of bad until I, 30 minutes later, found this thread and said, hey, read this thread for me. They go, that makes so much more sense. It wasn't just an ability that was a very much worse familiar.
So I don't know how to I don't know how to comment on the familiar stuff, right? Yeah. Because that is a little cumbersome. But now correct me, something you said earlier made me think. Now correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that this Archives of Nethys, or we should look it up.
It's not the Archives of. For some reason, I'm not able to click on anything that's in my stuff.
Can you copy it?
No, I literally can't do anything. Maybe I'll close it and open. It's.
But okay, so regardless, here people commented a lot on our page. I can pull it up here as well. The reason why I'm bringing this up is, so you mentioned that there's lots of different places that they take you to, lots of different, they tell you to jump from this book to this book to this book. I believe Paizo works. He's over here tapping on a screen.
What is going on?
I believe Paizo, I don't know, may not works with these people, but allows them to use all the information and puts it up for free, right? That's my understanding.
That is for the core rulebook and the other stuff that's listed as. Because if you go to that online resource that has everything in it, it is only the core rulebook, and it does mention the additional stuff, but doesn't have descriptions for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not on the Archives of Nethys. The ability that I'm talking about.
No, I mean so let me see if what I'm looking for would be up here. If they have I
think they have added the proper links. I think they've added the proper links for you to be able to navigate and go to stuff quickly.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if they have I don't know what books they have on here, but they have seem like they have a lot of the different
Lost Omens
books.
Ancestry Guide is what I'm talking about. That's what it's from.
Gotcha. Yeah, it says they've added the Lost Omens character guide on here. I don't know if that's
Did that just happen?
I don't know. They added it. Now they added it 7/9/21. So they added it a bit ago.
Okay.
The point being, so Archives of Nethys is a very handful. This is 2E.A. ONPRD. We'll put it in the description as well, if I
Yeah.
remember. And this is a very handy resource. They even have a new to Pathfinder 2nd edition. Click here, and you can go there, and it gets you all started on character creation, and really handy. And I don't know exactly, if what their abilities are to allow all this stuff in here, but they seem, Paizo doesn't care. Paizo's happy with it. This is very different from WotC. Granted, I guess it's because WotC used to be, I hate to say okay with it, but we're ignoring it for the most part until they decided to make D&D Beyond.
Yes.
So granted, Paizo doesn't have their own, version of D&D Beyond. So like, whatever, I don't care. You guys do whatever you want out there. Have fun, make your characters. While D&D Beyond was being made, WotC cracked down on all these different websites that were allowing people to use their resources for free.
Yeah, I want to say it's probably just as a relationship with their stakeholders and seeing the loss of value. It was definitely a business decision on their part. But when Pathfinder is this obtuse in some feats like this, and it genuinely can stop your game for like nearly an hour as you try to tell your DM to pick the better option.
Yeah, Star Wars is definitely not alone in that.
It's not.
There's a lot of them in here that I was a little confused on.
But what I will say is I really do, and this is in the end of it, because we'll probably keep talking for a little bit. I got a lot of points here. The number one thing that's going to stop you from playing Pathfinder are these moments. The moments when your DM is new.
Especially because that's a first level ability.
It's a first level ability. And it can be really fun to go over these sorts of things. People love word problems sometimes. When we grew up doing them, if you're from our generation, they probably still are doing them. But you will be sitting with your new GM and your new friends and your new players looking at your ability, and your GM is going to miss the trigger of something that you have, and you're not going to remember it maybe because you didn't study it enough. And then later on, you realize that an encounter should have gone an entirely different way, as if you didn't cast a Magic the Gathering spell that was in your hand and that could have won you the encounter, the turn. There's so much to miss when you pick stuff up that you really need to study shit.
It's tough too, because again, D&D Beyond, you click the button and it shows you all your actions. I pulled up my character sheet, and I mean, just looking at it kind of hurts my head. It doesn't say on here, like, granted, the D&D Beyond, the D&D sheet that you had to play for
actions. Bonus actions.
But I mean, for so if you were to just play D&D, you print out a character sheet and write it. That little section in the bottom right, that's where you fill in all your junk. You know, you have to write really small and fill it all in.
Writing so much shit
here,
for this.
there isn't really a spot for that. I guess it'd be the character sheet here doesn't have a spot for that. There's a section where it has my feats and class feats and stuff, but it doesn't just say everything I can do as an action. So that I'd have to either write down somewhere else or have it in the back of my mind. I
actually like that they've designed it that way, because it will either force you to memorize it or make it such such an arduous experience to go and get it out every time that eventually you're gonna have it in your memory.
Like looking here, like just if I were to pull it out, like I can't remember exactly what long snout rat did for me.
Are you gonna remember that you can persuade somebody with a really sick ass fact that you remember every single encounter? No. So try to study before, or at least find a DM that says they feel experienced, like we thankfully have run across one. GM, sorry. And again, I think in my opinion, that is the number one thing that's gonna turn people off from this, is how much there is to miss and how much there is to stop the thing. Your first session is going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be, your first session could very well be ugly, slow, and nothing could happen.
But to be fair, my first D&D session was very similar to this.
Was it?
I thought so. Maybe in my mind it was, but I mean, as you guys,
it lives in the vault of my mind in glory.
But like, I think I really do recommend, granted, I've not DM'd or GM'd a Pathfinder, but I think if I were, I might start it with an adventure path. I might, break it in and try to figure it out by authors and game designers have already done the job for me.
I think it's set up that way with how Galarian is the main world, and there's not much other stuff outside of what people have homebrewed.
It's some incredible adventure paths too. Incredible.
It's a really well developed and focused, pinpointed, community built environment, whereas D&D is, hey guys, look at my homebrew world that I made, and it's this thing they spent like 10 years on, and it's really well done. And then you can go to the next results on Google, and it's an entirely different thing in a different setting, and there's no crossover other than you bridging the gap.
It's not to say that Pathfinder doesn't have homebrew settings.
They absolutely do, but there is a larger focus of more people working on one thing for this. So I was amazed at all the resources and passion. Not to say that D&D doesn't have it, because they absolutely
I
do.
almost wish D&D would focus on one setting.
I do too, because I think every single book they do would be better.
Yeah, and each setting book was just a different content.
They just need to go the far realms, because every single thing they come out with is in
Forgotten
it.
Realms, yeah.
Forgotten Realms. Far realms.
Yeah, you said far realms.
Every single thing they do is in far realms lately.
Forgotten Realms.
Freudian slips.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay.
All their planes are in every setting. So
Let's jump to another thing.
okay,
We haven't played super. We're getting there, but in our home game, we haven't played super high level D&D yet,
Yes.
and we don't have any martial only classes. But it's of my understanding online that martial classes are far outshined by spellcasters in the end. People are casting like wish
In
spells
D&D?
in D&D,
Yeah.
and demolishing shit, and your fighter can do like 8 or 9 attacks a turn, and it just pales in comparison and is much more boring. Maybe you like that, but the damage output just isn't similar, and the flexibility isn't similar. So something I found is that spellcasters feel less similar to me than they did in 5e. They have a bit more to differentiate from each other, but seem overall less powerful in their respective setting. So spellcasters in Pathfinder seem less powerful or less overpowerful compared to martial, and jump over to D&D, they are more powerful than martial.
I mean, I'd see that because there's, first of all, it's in just a cursory glance. I could be wrong.
We haven't
It
played.
seems like there's less spellcasters in Pathfinder than in D&D. First of all, Ranger is not a spellcaster in
No,
here.
and Bard is,
I almost made one.
yeah. Ooh.
But that, and there's the spellcasters that I did look at have, I'd say, an average of less spell slots than in D&D.
Which to me, it's just more, because Warlock.
That's fair. But like the Wizard, for example, has less spell slots than a Sorcerer.
Which makes sense to me, to be quite honest, because a wizard inherently has, they're basically the bodybuilders of the magic world. Sorcerers born
Fair,
with, they're natural. They just were born
Because
swole.
so I'm just gonna pick a number because I don't know how much it is, but like at level 20 for a wizard in D&D, you have like,
Oh my god.
I don't know, for at level 1 spells, you probably have like 6, 7, 8, maybe more. I'm not positive. I could probably look it up. But in I actually have it on my OneNote if you want me to pull it up.
Yeah, I'll do it. Keep chatting.
Okay, and then in Galarian, in Pathfinder here, the wizard never changes how many first level spell slots it has.
And I think,
Except for one for level 1 to level 2. They always have 3.
yeah, I think a reason for that
That's it,
is leveling up is. Oh, did you find it for D&D?
No, this is it for wizards and the Pathfinder. Every spell slot for every level is always 3
And
for the most part.
I think a big part of that is in this. Imagine your spells are like weapons, and you carry your level 1 dagger and you sharpen it in D&D. And every dagger that you get that's of the same kind, you're just much more adept at using it. They get more powerful every time you do it.
Yes,
You can
spellcasting's
upcast.
definitely different.
You can upcast, which is the analogy I'm making here, in Pathfinder. But there are more spells out there. And there's spells on spells on spells. So I find it boring as I level up in D&D to get another level 1 spell.
Oh my god. Yeah, and
It's like, come on.
it's interesting too because healing is also very different in Pathfinder.
Yes.
You don't need
It's
to
really
heal
cool.
his spells. Yeah, so like the investigator, you can have a ability. It's your like basically your subclass that allows you to. It's only a 4.
Yeah.
Still, it's a little more.
It goes up once.
Yeah. So like you can heal in combat and outside of combat. With battle medicine is what I can do. And for example, I mean, there are things you can use the healer's kit for in D&D, but name, Braxton, I'm asking you a straight up question here. Name more than 5 times someone has used a kit in our home game.
They're trying real hard to right now.
It's one out of 4 characters.
It's been 3
players
years.
is, yes.
It's been 3 years.
And the only reason they're using it is because we found a supplement.
Yeah.
It's not even in D&D.
My hyperlinks are now working.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
The supplement is called Alchemy Index or something. It's
Well,
much
there are
better.
entire classes built around these things, so they better be fun to use.
Yeah, well, the healer's kit, I mean, each kit allows you to do something specific mechanically in game with it. And I very much like that.
You also are going to have a lot more status ailments and boons to keep track of yourself in this. So
Unfortunately,
definitely help your DM
I
out.
don't have a UI to be able to see all this on my screen.
There is on the online character
Let
sheet.
me
There
pull this
definitely
up
is.
So I can remember what it's called.
And if I made my character on my iPad, I would have it. I was having so much fun making my character. So what I want to jump into next, my next point, kind of comparing how classes feel, and you touched on it in the beginning. To me, casting spells in D&D, I don't feel there's some pretty cool class abilities. Yeah. I won't lie, but I don't feel like I'm playing a character. I feel like I'm playing 5th edition's spells. Does that make sense? Whenever I play a spellcaster, I get really bored because the spells are very samey. You end up picking the same spells every time. The only thing that restricts you are the spell lists. And it's like you're playing a single weapon every time. Every time you play D&D, you get a glaive and you're always hitting with a 1d6. Every time I play a spellcaster, you're going to have your fireballs. You're going to have access to a lot of the stuff in D&D. And it just feels like you're not a class. You're just playing a character that can use the repertoire of spells on D&D Beyond. But classes in Pathfinder, and this might make more sense because I feel like I'm not explaining it well, they feel like a class.
Yeah, the way I would describe it is in D&D, it feels like you're playing a pre-generated character. They just like, you picked and like, all right, I'll play Ifin today. And then in Pathfinder, it feels like you're actually making and choosing like this character.
It's meaningful.
Like as my investigator, I'm choosing feats that a specific kind of investigator would be able to use. And there's kind of examples of this when you go to your classes. You can see, templates. If you want to make a fire alchemist or something, then these are the feats we would pick. But you can pick those, and then maybe you, at this level you say, you know what, that's cool, but I'm going to tweak it just ever so slightly. You can pick something else. So it's very cool that you're allowed to not just have a pre-generated class, you're able to actually put some effort into it yourself.
Yeah. I feel like Druid does this pretty well. Like it feels unique. There's a lot of unique abilities you can do in 5th edition. A lot
of choices, yeah.
A lot of stuff that you can do. It doesn't just feel like all you are is the access to the spells.
I guess I'd say cleric too in some small cases, like domains.
Yeah. But your sorcerers, your wizards, they're all gonna like take the same spells. And the only things that they can really do are cast spells better, which they're spellcasters.
Yeah, I'd say all the classes in 5th edition get at least one meaningful choice. Like fighter, you get to choose your fighting masteries. Wizard, you choose your you choose stuff. And while Pathfinder, you have like 5 extras at level 1. You have that many different meaningful choices to make.
This is going to be a controversial opinion, but and I don't think this is like objective truth or anything at all. But from my perspective, I get bored of game systems quickly when I feel like I've played everything there is to play. And hell no, I have not played everything in D&D there is. But I feel like playing 1 or 2 spellcasters and 1 martial class that I know exactly how everything is going to play now. I look at something like, I can see exactly how this plays. But when I go into Pathfinder, and I haven't played, but when I look at all the different spellcasts, I'm like, this plays entirely differently than this. This has a different inhibitor than this when I cast spells. This does something entirely different. It's the spells are your tools in Pathfinder, but in D&D, you are the spells.
I also feel like, for me, granted, again, we have not played. Maybe we'll do an extra podcast afterwards.
We have not played.
With our
Bam.
thoughts.
We have not played. Bam.
But Pathfinder, because most people, and there was a poll, I guess it wasn't really there wasn't a poll, it was just a thread on Twitter. I think it was Sly Flourish that made it, or MT Black, I can't remember. Some like big D&D guy made this post asking about what level do you tend to start playing D&D.
I think 1 is fine.
9 times out of 10 people said level 3. That's when it gets interesting. Pathfinder, it seems fun from level 1. It seems like there's plenty. I don't know how.
That's a huge one.
I don't know how chunky. I don't know how easy it is to die at level 1. That's one of the reasons people skip level 1.
Well, level 1, people can have 16 AC, but as a spellcaster, I have 16 AC.
Damn, I got 15. But
weak ass.
But point being, it seems interesting. Again, I haven't played it, but it seems cool. Yeah,
take a shot every time we say it. Probably will continue to say it. Once you kind of get over.
I want to say real quick before we jump, because we're talking about spellcasters. My class is a martial class, investigator. Well, martial class, I'd say with caveats. Obviously, it's not just straight martial. But looking through the weaponry choices, so much more interesting and so much more fun than just like
it's like looking through spells.
There's cool options, cool different ideas, and I wish
pole arms are meaningful now.
True. I wish D&D would release, like how Tasha's has extra spells. I wish they'd add extra martial weapons, more simple weapons. Nice. He has that on his things. The weapons are more fun. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think D&D has added more weapons and stuff.
They've had magic weapons and stuff, but not like base things to build off of. Yeah. So
I would like that.
I've been saying for like the past month that I would love just a weapon compendium.
Yeah, I mean, there's third-party ones, but we're not talking about third-party.
For sure.
All of our complaints with D&D can be solved with third-party, but
I feel like
the point.
Putting a homebrew weapon in your game is that's hard to do, to convince people to do, because the basis for what you can do is one extra dice on that can throw off your entire game.
Like I'm gonna tell you what I chose. I'm so excited.
Yeah, tell me your character.
I'm so excited to try to use it. I'm not trying to. I'm going to use it, obviously. But I'm an investigator rat, right? Who's Mosier, which I completely...
Rabbit?
Rat.
Okay, the other one was rabbit?
No. The other one I was going to make was like a cat.
You said rabbit in the beginning.
Did I?
Maybe I misheard.
But so I didn't know. I forgot there was a movie called The Great Mouse Detectives. That's kind of, I guess, what my character's going to be. Yeah. But I chose... I didn't even think of this until I saw the weaponry list. There's a sword cane. And I thought that was so cool to have a little rat with a cane and whip out a sword.
Can it turn into a whip?
No. I was thinking like Yoda. You know, he walks around like with his cane, and then when someone pisses him off, he whips out, starts jumping around. That's my idea with this little guy. God,
I'm so stoked. My character,
super cool.
So the foxes, very much so in Asian folklore, foxes are tricksters. They like screwing people over. Or
I played Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh hell yeah. And a lot of time they're more social. They tend to be emissaries or charlatans and stuff like that. So I am an oracle, an oracle, and foxes are often like of the moon and whatnot. They're gods. Two of them that they can follow are of the sun and of the moon, or of the moon and something else. So the oracle that I picked, the mystery, is like of the stars, of the sky, of like space. So rather than being of a specific deity of like time or something like that,
interesting.
Mine is all about I'm drawn to the stars.
That's cool.
Give me eyes. And every time I cast one of my special spells, so every time I use a warlock spell slot rather than a different one, I get lighter.
Like
I start floating.
Like wait, oh whoa.
My magic is cursing me to fall towards the stars, and it makes it to where I'm lighter, so it's easier for me to get like grappled and knocked down, and I have a -1. There's a specific keyword for it to certain stuff. The second time, I get access to like long jump and shit for like way less actions than they actually cost. I can just do it like at will.
Dang.
And I can start like floating and stuff. The third one is I literally don't have gravity, and I'm going to the sky, and I'm gonna die.
The hell?
I'm gonna join the sky.
This is Oracle?
This is Oracle. This is the Lovecraftian Oracle.
But I heard that you did Oracle, so I avoided it.
Yeah, it was either Witch or Oracle for me. For me, Oracle is just like, oh boy.
I forgot one of the feats that I chose for the rat guy. I thought this was super interesting because I've never seen D&D have these mechanics where there are smell things in D&D, but like this says I can specifically smell like people and be able to track people just by scent up to like 30 feet or something if someone's around any corners. Such as like the long snout guy. I thought that's so cute, man. I'm excited to mess around with it.
There's a lot more that inspires roleplay in this.
There was one. Let me bounce this feat off you. It was an investigator feat. It was called like I'll look it up while I'm talking.
Okay.
There was one. It was one that I knew as a DM I would hate. I would absolutely hate my player if they picked this. Yes, because I mean not hate my player. I would hate having to come up with this on the fly. It's called called That's Odd. Okay, I know.
The fuck?
It says whenever you enter a new location, such as a room or corridor, you immediately notice one thing out of the ordinary. Every place you go,
you have to make something out of the ordinary.
The GM would then have to make out something that is interesting, that is out of the ordinary. The GM determines what it is, whether there's nothing reasonable to pick up, skipping obvious clues, yada, yada, yada. So it's just, I mean, it's cute, very interesting, but I feel like that'd get on someone's nerves.
There's a lot of abilities like that in this, though.
There are.
There's a lot.
Which I assume I haven't dissected the adventure pass for Pathfinder 2e yet. I've just kind of skimmed through and read the stories and stuff.
We'll have a postmortem after our stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious if the adventure pass covers stuff like this. Like, this is what's interesting about this room and whatnot.
So, one of my favorite things, my character is a fox. So, obviously, they're going to be good at being able to tell, like doing insight checks, telling when somebody's fibbing, because that's what I do. I'm the fibber. I like joking around and pulling like sneaky tricks, non-harmful ones on people.
Okay.
So, one of the things I get access to due to my background, I need to be trained in deception. So, it's called Lie to Me.
Q.
So if I'm like within, I believe, if I'm having discourse with somebody, they're not doing a speech, like I'm talking back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm better at telling when they're lying because I'm a liar. So you can use deception to weave traps into your discussion and trip up anyone trying to deceive you. If you engage in conversation with somebody trying to lie to you, and it's a capital lie keyword, use your deception DC. If it is higher than your perception DC to determine whether they succeed. This doesn't apply if you don't have a back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But I can just tell if somebody's lying to me if my deception's high enough.
Dang.
Just flat, I'm like, no.
That's again. So this comes back to the GM making sure they're aware of all these things.
They have to know. When your players level up, you say, by this deadline, need to know before the session. I need to look at it so I can be prepared.
It's like as a DM for D&D right now, the only things I write down on that's on your guys' sheets for me to see at all times is basically just your passive perception. And even still, I ask you guys sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
I have it in front of me, but I always ask.
So that's the stuff that's going to get beat out of you when you play Pathfinder.
Yes. I assume eventually you probably learn it and remember it, but still.
And these are the things that I think people mostly mean when they nicely say that if you play other systems, you'll learn a lot. It's like reading more books or experiencing more things. It's never bad. So if you play Pathfinder, it's going to up your discipline for rules, for sure. And I think my final thing is like, once you kind of get over... once you learn how to read the book, creating your level 1 character is actually pretty damn quick.
Yes, I would say so.
The thing that takes the longest time is reading all of the feats and spell options, because when you're a spellcaster, you get access to a lot of spells, depending on how you cast it. If you're an occultic one, you have to pick spells. You can change them occasionally. You just get over option paralysis, or just have a full week of like, I'm going to make my level 1 character and chill. And it sounds like a big commitment. But at some point, when you've played something enough, or you're on your second game, you know what things are. It is very easy to make a character in this. The formatting of the core rulebook is not great. I now agree with Ryan. It's not the best looking for all the feats and how they're joined. I hate where they put the archetypes are placed randomly throughout the classes. It's like, why is this here? Should I be looking at this? What's going on? Put that all at the end or in like a thesaurus.
It does feel like they've learned. They're learning.
They've
like
definitely.
They already have changed some of my complaints from the core rulebook to the advanced players handbook.
Yeah, so we're always going to be going back to that. But
and hell, maybe there's like an eroded version of the core rulebook that fixes these problems.
Very possibly. Those are my main points.
Yeah. So my kind of bouncing off of that is the step-by-step guide. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I don't know if this is because I've already done, gone through the D&D steps 1 through 8 or whatever the hell to make a character. But the ones here, I felt like were easier for me to follow. Mm-hmm. I'm actually gonna take that back. I went through these steps again with my girlfriend recently because she wanted to make her first D&D character, and I was overwhelmed again, even though I already know how to make a character. And here in Pathfinder, it's so much easier. What? What's wrong?
What?
He's looking at the Eldritch Trickster Rogue over
sorry,
there.
what?
What, man?
What? Do I play a rogue now? What the hell?
Oh my god.
You can't just do that.
What I'm trying to say here, he's cutting me off. What I'm trying to say is the step-by-step guide that's in the core rulebook, right in the first 30 pages of the book, is super easy to learn. I think the only problems that I had with it when I looked through was the he's showing this dwarf to the camera. Nice.
I'm just gonna let him hang out.
Was this buy equipment section? That kind of overwhelmed me for a little bit because I had to figure out where's the equipment. Then I had to go to obviously a different section and learn how equipment works for my character. But eventually I was able to piece it together. And I think if I didn't have the online form that we filled out, which I did find the website for, which is pathbuilder2e.com.
If you have an Android, it is more complete on that. There's a mobile app for Android in particular. It has everything in it. Web app doesn't.
If I didn't have that, then I think I would have had more issues creating it just through the character sheet itself, because that character sheet, looking at it still hurts my head trying to wrap around everything.
I just figured out the thumbnail.
So what, that guy?
That guy and you and me doing it.
I like it. I like it. Or maybe we're honest fans.
I like that even better.
Anyway, so and the lore stuff, I'm curious to see how that's going to come through, like the lore skills. Because I have rat folklore. I imagine it's probably not going to come up, but that just gets, it doesn't. It's like I pick that. I'm just a rat.
Yeah.
So it gets
like
added.
I get occultic lore. If there's something about a specific occultic group, I am more inclined to notice it. And at some point, I just always, I can't crit fail.
These things just get added on.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And I mean, people often say it. Playing D&D as a player, what's the wording? DMing Pathfinder is harder.
I also get the idea, because I don't have any negatives on my sheet. I get the idea.
You can add them.
Right, you can get negatives and stuff.
You have to purposely want to.
Yes, I get the idea. How how they say 10, like 10 strength, 10 whatever.
Baseline.
Baseline in D&D
Average human.
is the average individual. I think it's probably different in Pathfinder because it gets cranked up pretty fast. Yeah, I have some pretty cranked out stats just from level 1.
Yeah.
But it's very different because it goes up to like 40.
That's a really good point. They have a different philosophy. In 5th edition, one of my least favorite things is like 9 times out of 10, if you just did as they wanted you to, you'd be playing a very low optimized version of your class. If you didn't do very forgiving roll for your stats, like I like to do. Every creature out there basically is optimized and perfectly rolled their stats. They have their +5 in spellcasting. They have their maximum dexterity for high initiative. But you, as a player, if you just played D&D, it's a lot easier when you don't use feats. If you had ability score improvements, it'd probably be fine. But it feels really bad not being good at your spellcasting of the class that you're playing. And sure, you can make a fun narrative thing with it, but that's a product of flawed design rather than a fun thing to do. It shouldn't have to be like that. You can play a flawed character and be good at the class you pick.
This is very different.
It's very different. This, you're going to be good at what you do. If you just go through the online version of it and you make your character's going to be good.
Yeah, I could see some of these stats.
It's harder to make a bad character.
To get gigantic.
The numbers do roll higher in this just by default.
Yes.
So it's a bit skewed.
Which is why I think that I was saying the average, I think it's probably a little higher. But if you're good at something, if I'm really good at something, then I think they focus more on we talked this before, the critical successes and critical failures type stuff.
Most spells and abilities have a critical success and a critical fail trigger. And then a success and a fail.
Which we did not mention this on the podcast because we forgot.
We did.
The +10 and -10 if you're over something.
Or just the nats 20
seems like it'll
ones.
probably come up. Probably not first level, but I would imagine at future
Quite often,
levels.
Yeah, so
that's Pathfinder character creation.
That's Pathfinder character creation. I'm excited to play. We'll have an update for you guys after we've played. It'll probably be either this Saturday or Sunday or next Saturday or Sunday. I've got a lot of people with busy schedules, so it's been tough to coordinate it all. But the moons and stars have aligned, and it seems like it might happen.
Yeah, I think we got the right excitement levels. So I think we're hyped. We're looking forward to trying something new. We're excited to make mistakes because that's what happens when you play a new system. And that's okay.
I'd love to do it in person, but I think we've got a really good chance with this user in the Discord. So I'm stoked. Thanks for everybody who joined in our first Pathfinder episode. If you're here from that one on this one, you skipped our other content, that's fine.
It's okay.
You pick what you want. You come on this channel, you watch, and you get out.
You're an individual.
You're an individual. You could, instead of leaving, you could go to @DungeonCrawlPod on Twitter or Instagram and hang out with us. Look at the posts that we make that preview some of our content. I've been forgetting the live play lately, which is kind of bad. But,
he hates the Dungeon Chronicles.
It's fine. @DungeonCrawlPod if you want to see our updates. But even more so, if you go in the description or the link tree, we probably should just put the Discord flat out in the description.
But you know what we can say now? After you finish watching this podcast this evening,
I'm gonna make it tonight.
Go over to... What are you making tonight?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. After this podcast, you can go to twitch.tv/Dungeon Crawl Network, and around 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. CST, the Dungeon Chronicles will be live. We're now scooting to Tuesday, so now we can actually say, hey, you can watch us after the podcast.
That'd be fun. Yeah, you get a double whammy of us. If you listen to us as stuff comes out on Tuesdays, listen to us live and see me use my learned experience. Nice. And I'm really trying to improve right now as a DM, and I think I've been succeeding. And the next stuff should be really, really fun. The other thing I was going to mention is
mention it.
If I have time tonight, but definitely by tomorrow, I'm going to make some sort of Q&A submission thing.
Ooh, yeah.
I highly doubt there's going to be many stuff in there, but I'm going to throw it in our Discord. Maybe people will throw in questions, whether you've asked them or not already. Do it. Whether there's personal stuff about D&D, stuff about Pathfinder, and things that we hope for the future of tabletop RPGs, letters, numbers. Give us some stuff. Talk to us. It'd be really fun if you did that. Our 100th episode, This Is Why, and our 2nd year anniversary is next week.
Damn.
Double whammy. So it's actually, we should celebrate this weekend. Because that's when it happens. Well, with Pathfinder. On Sunday, I think, is our 2nd year anniversary.
Well, that's what we're playing.
Yeah. And then our 50th episode. 100th episode is Tuesday next week. So this is our 99th. Celebrate with us. If you want to send us an email because you're too impatient to wait for me to get that thing out because it's probably not up yet, I don't know. You can do at Dungeon Crawl Pod on Twitter, or you can send us an email at thedungeoncrawlpod at thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. Maybe at some point we'll edit this, but probably not because it's who we are. Am I done? Is that everything?
That's everything.
All right, you can take it away.
Hey, everybody, make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts.
What the hell?
And look, you got coins. Make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts, and you too can be the winner of the Dungeon Crawl slot machine. Wait, did it?
You got 2 bars and a 7.
That's pretty good, man.
That's pretty good. I got to do this.
There's no money in it anymore.
I'm the gotcha gamer.
Damn,
shit sucks.
You lost. Head over to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, leave a review, and then, like I said, you too can win the Dungeon Crawl slot machine.
Hopefully, this is not too insane in the mics, but we do process this a little bit. So
yeah, head over to our YouTube channel if you are online, and you can see that I just won in my slot machine.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to keep this all,
actually, I got that for Christmas because my family and I went to Las Vegas a long time ago, and I was kind of like, haha, it'd be kind of funny to gamble, yada 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 yada, but I didn't really want to. And then my parents were like, hey, we'll give you like $10, just try it out, it'd be kind of interesting. I just never got around doing it, and so for Christmas, my mom got me that.
Do it, Ryan. Do it now.
Yeah, she wants to hook me, I guess.
Damn. Yeah, dude, you're getting all the vices lately.
I guess so.
Yeah, I'll let you out yourself if you want to on that one.
Am I? What else am I doing?
You drank the devil's juice.
Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about this at the beginning, but I completely forgot. I'll stay here at the end.
Final thing.
Yeah, for my first time I ever drank alcohol.
That's so bad.
24 years old. I've been waiting forever to have an apple teeny because I love the show Scrubs.
Yeah. His cat's named JD.
Yeah, my cat's named JD, one of the main characters.
Now you know.
And my girlfriend was going to hang out with some friends, and she was like, you know what, I'll let's go buy some wine for them. She got wine and tequila for each of her friends. And I was like, hey, while we're here, let's see if they have any ready to drink appletini. And they did. They had one. We couldn't find. We'd ask the guy there to try to find it for us. Very small. It's in like this test tube
plastic containers.
You can pull it out and like slap it.
It looks like pure food coloring.
It's like something that your science teacher
and it tastes literally like cough syrup.
Tasted terrible. I hated it.
It's so bad. But you did have cupcake wine.
I did have
your second experience.
She had some cupcake wine. I drank it, and to me, it just tasted like sparkling grape juice, which is probably the point of it. It's supposed to be like dessert wine, she said.
I'm not an alcohol connoisseur, neither am I an alcoholic. I'll have 1 beer a week or less.
So far, I've had jack squat, really.
That's true.
Because the reason why I thought it was nothing is because my grandmother growing up would buy a sparkling grape juice for New Year's. While everyone else was drinking, I'd have sparkling grape juice. And so it tasted just like that. I was like, this is all I have? So eventually, we're thinking about buying a sampler or something. I'll try some more stuff out.
Cool beans.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. This was a cool episode. I really got into this one. I had fun prepping for it.
Yeah, I had a fun time making my character, and I'm excited to maybe make a second one. So I can't decide which one I want to play for this weekend.
That's true. So. I'm just so scared of playing a soul spellcaster. I know I get some weapon stuff, but we'll see how it goes.
The other option that I had was a catfolk fencer. I was like, that sounds fun to me too. So
the witch has a focus on familiars, so that'd be fun for me. But we'll have a postmortem at some point.
Last question. I probably should ask this earlier, but spellcasters long rests only get back spells?
Depends.
Okay, so just like D&D, it kind of depends. Okay, gotcha.
And prepared.
But you don't get health back in short rest.
You can heal during short rest.
Right, but not like hit die. Yeah.
Nope. It's very different.
Very cool. All right. Yeah, so we'll do a postmortem on it. Maybe next podcast at the end of it or something, or we'll make a whole separate podcast for it. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging. See you guys at the 2nd year and 100th episode. Thanks for calling with us.
Woot woot, as they say.
He's been Ryan.
He's Braxton.
We're the Dungeon Bungin. Take care.
You're the crawl, baby.
You're the dungeon.
Damn it.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I never do.
I swear to God.
See you guys.
Deuce. I can't get out of my seat that quickly. Sorry.
Oh, I'm stuck.